All right, Chiefs fans, I'm just going to say it. You might not love everything I've got to talk about today. There are a couple things going on. One about where the team might be playing in the future, and one about the coaching staff. Changes a lot of people were hoping for, but, well, they don't seem to be happening. We're going to get into all that, plus the team's potential direction at the left tackle spot and more. All right, it's a big one. There's a lot of talk heating up about the Chiefs and the Royals possibly moving to the Kansas side of the border. And yeah, I know this has been a discussion for a while now, but it's starting to sound a little more real. Missouri is reportedly trying to get something on the November 2012 ballot to keep both teams on the Missouri side, especially with their leases expiring in 2030. One option being floated is a 20-year extension on their current stadium situation. But here's the issue. Both teams seem to want new stadiums. And over in Kansas, they could get that without even needing a public vote. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Let's not forget, Jackson County voters already shot down an extension of the current stadium tax back in April 2024. That money would have funded a new Royals Stadium downtown and renovations for Arrowhead. But the way that plan was presented, it was kind of a mess. And because of that, both teams' ownership got pretty frustrated and probably lost some confidence in trying to get anything passed through a public vote. So now there's a real chance they're going to take a different route, one that wouldn't need public approval at all. That's where Kansas comes in, offering something called STAR bonds, which stands for sales tax and revenue bonds. Basically, it's a way for the Kansas government to provide upfront money for major attractions. It's a pretty controversial system, and only 3 states even have it. But both the Chiefs and Royals seem very interested. According to Bob Fesco from 96.5 The Fan, both teams are leaning toward moving to Kansas. He's hearing from people inside both organizations that Kansas has been a great partner to work with, while Missouri's still trying to figure out what they're doing. And if Kansas keeps moving fast, by the time Missouri even gets a proposal on the ballot in November 2025, ground might already be broken on those new stadiums in Kansas. If that happens, guys, Arrowhead Stadium, one of the most iconic historic stadiums in the NFL, could be gone within 5 or 6 years. And man, as someone who lives about 15 minutes from Arrowhead and has been going there my entire life, I'd love for the Chiefs to stay in Jackson County, Missouri. But I also get it. I can't blame ownership for wanting something new. And if Kansas makes the process easier and more attractive, it's going to be tough to turn down. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Do you care if the Chiefs stay at Arrowhead, or are you cool with them moving as long as they stay in the Kansas City area? I've talked to a lot of people who say as long as they stay nearby, they don't really care whether it's Missouri or Kansas. Others feel pretty strongly about keeping Arrowhead because of its history and what it represents. So hit the comments and let me know where you stand on this. All right, so let's switch gears and get into some actual football news. The Chiefs just officially announced the hiring of Matt House and Chris Orr for the coaching staff. Now, if you've been following the channel, you probably remember me talking about this last week or the week before. So it's not exactly new news, but now it's official. A lot of people are starting to think that the lack of changes on offense this late in the hiring cycle could mean the coaching staff is essentially set for the season. Honestly, that's a bit frustrating. I would have loved to see someone new come in to help shake up the game plan, maybe bring in a fresh perspective. But it seems like we might not get that this season. Just to recap, here's how things stand right now. Joe Blameyer is still the passing game coordinator. Connor Embry is handling the wide receivers. David Girardi is the quarterback's coach. Andy Heck is still the offensive line coach. Tom Melvin is coaching tight ends. Todd Pinkston is in charge of running backs, and Matt Nagy remains the offensive coordinator. As of now, it looks like that's how things will stay. It's kind of a bummer, especially when you consider how important fresh ideas could be to a team with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. But if there's one thing that can't stay the same, it's the left tackle position. Last year, the Chiefs had a terrible time at that spot, with both of their left tackles combining for a 50.0 PFF blocking grade. To make matters worse, they allow pressure on 11.3 of plays. Those numbers were the worst in the entire NFL. We all knew it was bad, but when you break it down like that, it's hard not to see how much of a priority it is to fix. And for the love of everything good, the Chiefs need to figure this out. The left tackle position has to be addressed above all else. From what I've heard, the team is probably going to sign a veteran free agent to help stabilize the position and then look to draft a tackle as well. I actually like this strategy because it gives them the security of having a veteran around to guide the younger players. Last year, they put a lot of their hope into rookies like Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suanataya, and it didn't exactly work out. Before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. That being said, don't rule out Kingsley Suamataia just yet. Could he be in the mix for the left tackle spot this season? We'll have to wait and see. They kind of threw him into the fire last year, pulling him in and out of the lineup, which was a tough spot for any young player. But to be fair, the Chiefs knew he'd need time to develop when they drafted him. So one season is too short to judge if he can handle the role. If left tackle doesn't work out for Kingsley, there's a chance he could end up inside at right guard. The Chiefs did experiment with him at guard later in the season, and with Trey Smith possibly moving on, it might be the right move. There's a lot of speculation that Smith will become one of the highest paid guards in the NFL, and while the Chiefs would love to keep him, there's just no way they can afford to pay him along with some of their other key players like Jawan Taylor and Creed Humphrey. That's where things get tricky for the Chiefs. Joe Thuney is also on the final year of his deal with a massive cap hit. The team also still needs a left tackle, so they'll have to make some tough decisions about where to allocate money. Ultimately, the Chiefs' priority should be solving the left tackle situation. If Mahomes just has decent protection on that side, he's already proven that he can win Super Bowls. So it's kind of a no-brainer when it comes to where the focus should be. Switching gears a little bit, the 2022 draft class is heading into the final year of their contracts, and we've got some key players who will need extensions. The two that stand out the most are Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis. Now, McDuffie's fifth-year option is something the Chiefs could exercise, but I think it would be smart for them to extend him now instead of waiting. With the salary cap expected to jump to around $280, McDuffie has already proven he's one of the top corners in the league. Last year, he was first in lockdown rate at an impressive 68.5 and had the fourth highest overall grade for corners. He was also second team All-Pro, and the year before that, he was a first team All-Pro as a slot corner. The guy's proven he's one of the best, and I think it makes a lot of sense to extend him now before his price goes up. He's only 24, which means he's still got plenty of prime years ahead of him. If they wait, McDuffie's price tag is only going to get bigger. Just look at what Patrick Surtain and Jair Alexander are making. Surtain is earning $24 million per year, and Alexander's at $21 million. So I'd expect McDuffie to fall somewhere between those two numbers, maybe around $23 million per year. The Chiefs don't typically sign defensive backs to second contracts, but McDuffie is a special case. He's versatile, valuable to the defense, and he's still so young, they'd be smart to make him a cornerstone piece and lock him down before things get too complicated. Speaking of the secondary, there's another name to keep an eye on. Dwayne just said he's set to hit free agency, but what if the Chiefs brought back Juan Thornhill instead? The Browns just announced they're moving on from him to free up some cap space, and that could be an opportunity for the Chiefs to bring him back on a cheaper deal. Thornhill didn't exactly light it up in Cleveland. He only had 4 pass breakups and 0 interceptions over 2 seasons. But the Browns' defense wasn't great, and their offense was even worse. Thornhill missed 12 games over the last 2 seasons, which has definitely hurt his stock. But if the Chiefs can bring him back on a budget-friendly deal, it could make sense, especially if they're planning on giving Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook the majority of the workload at safety. Sure, Wright's been the better of the 2 safeties in recent years, but if the Chiefs are looking to save money and strengthen other areas of the roster, bringing Thornhill back could be a smart move. And who knows? Maybe he could have a better showing back in Kansas City where he's more familiar with the system. It would definitely save the team a lot of money compared to giving Reed another long-term contract. I'm curious what you all think about that idea. Do you think the Chiefs should bring back Juan Thornhill on a cheaper deal, or should they stick with Justin Reed for the long haul? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, both Andy Reid and Brett Veach are going to be talking to the media soon. So I'll be back with all the updates and key takeaways. Until next time, thanks for watching and see you next one.